Welcome to Door Insider, where we take a deep dive into the mindset, the why, and the how of the industry's top entrepreneurs, leaders, recruiters, and salespeople. We are the Door Nation. Here is your host, Lee Barber. Let's go.
All right, gang, welcome to Door Insider Season 4. Today we have a special format. We have a few guests you know, one you may or may not know. So we have Seth Grinney, we have Michael McHenry, and we have Cam Brown. Seth brought this idea to me with Michael just based on bringing Michael's value to the industry, his business knowledge, and just getting him acquainted and familiar with some of our people. And we decided to just shoot the shit. So this may be a little bit different format than everybody's used to, but I think it's going to be fun. So quickly to introduce Michael. Michael is innovating trailblazer, not only elevating the industry, restaurants, but responsible for inspiring future leaders and igniting passion for success in his teams. He has won Restaurant of the Year, Best Restaurant Concept 5 times, generated over 500 million plus in restaurant revenue, named number 65 of 100 most influential restaurants, CEO in the country, recognized as the nation's top 32 rising stars by FSR magazine in 2019. He's created and employed 3,000 plus jobs. He's opened 70 plus restaurants and developed over 12 successful brands. And he shows no sign of slowing down. His newest concept, Sunday School, is coming to the Salt Lake downtown neighborhood this winter, 2024. And what I heard from you in the meeting was it's expected to produce $10 million in revenue. You're gonna wanna see it. And the first thing I thought is I'm gonna wanna eat there. So Michael, welcome to the show.
Yeah, this is, dude, I'm like sitting amongst these badass giants. So much respect for all of you. Thanks for having me, dude, and welcoming me to your city.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So what we wanted to do during this, just for the listeners, is have Seth kind of lead the way because he's known Michael the most, and Cam and I will just kind of chirp in, and I think we just have a business discussion, like get into points. So I guess just kind of as the orchestrator from the back of the band, Seth, get into like your beginnings with Michael on you guys' relationship.
Yeah. So the first thing that I want to point out, like there's a very deliberate reason we're all here today, and we haven't touched on it yet in the podcast, but you know, as we listen to that list of achievements and accolades that Michael has in his career, I've had the fortune of being able to like stand on the sidelines and watch the whole time, right?
The whole time.
And I have like a history in door to door, and we all know that. I've knocked a lot of doors. That's one thing that no one can take away from me. I've knocked a lot of doors in my career. And so as Michael and I have gotten closer and closer over the many years we've known each other, I've seen so many similarities. And, you know, as we get into it and we kind of go through your story, get to know you a little bit, and then talk about where we want to go together, what I want the listener to pay attention to is the similarities in the way that Michael has approached this business, where the odds are just disgustingly stacked against him, exactly like they are against us every single day. We wake up, we've got to take nothing and turn it into something.
Beautiful.
And that's what my brother here has been doing for the how many 25 years or something?
20 years.
We've known each other.
Like 25 years we've known each other.
Yeah,
dude, I met you when you were 13.
Yeah. So 22 years.
Yeah.
You know, Michael, when I was a broke, jobless, directionless kid, used to give me free food at Costa Vida back in the day.
Orem. Yeah, I remember when you'd come through. I was like, damn, I just wanted him to eat with extra meat so he could grow a little bit back then too, man. Not just because he was hungry. He was skinny and little, bro, and now he's all jacked up.
I didn't know you guys knew each other for that long.
Oh yeah,
that's
my
awesome.
whole life pretty much.
I met Seth in his parents' living room. He was in the kitchen. I was in the living room. You were 13. We did the math like not too long ago.
Was Seth's dad that impressive back then too?
Yeah.
I remember your dad walked into the room one
exactly
time,
the same.
and I was like, the whole room gets quiet. He's got like a powerful presence.
I think the difference with at least my experiences with
so you've known all the
Mr.
Grinneys
Grinny
for a
now
really long time.
is that he's like seems to be more socially aware of the people that are around him, but I think he's just
A force.
like he's just the same person. I just think he's aware more of the people that happen to be around him now.
That's cool. One of the things,
You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like.
one of the things you just said, Seth, like really chimed in on me. Like when you were talking, Michael, was like you were like, how many places can you walk out this door and go get a burger, or a pizza, or some food? And you said, and you told my group, like, how many choices do they have for solar? And like that was something that was impactful to me, because when you think about, I think people really don't think of our business like a business, and our knockers are our marketing force. And as a marketing force, if we really ingrain, like, we have to be different, we have to teach different, we have to like, so it's like, what has been your, you are different.
Well, dude, one, thanks again too for letting me speak to those that were like new and those that may have, you know, already been participating as good members of the group. Thank you. That just one thing I just speak from the heart. Like one thing that I've noticed that I just try to recognize the audience, and the biggest gift that I try to deliver and the value I want to create is like, what did I want to hear? Or what did I need to hear when I was 25 or 30 or 40 or fucking 18? Like, what did I need to hear? Right? Not what I wanted to hear, right? It's easy to, like, I look at you guys and go, dude, beautiful watches, beautiful wives, beautiful families, homes, businesses. Like, it's pretty easy to get caught up in like the earned choices. But the reality is, like, there's a price you have to pay. The choices that you have to make, the byproduct of those decisions. And when you take a business, and the reason I think this correlation is here, right, Seth, is that the restaurant business most definitely has a super high failure rate, but it isn't because it's the restaurant business. I think that any business that has a low barrier of entry has a high failure rate. Why? Because it's easy to get started. And if it's easier to get started, it's way easier to fail. Right? It's not like, oh, you have to have a 5-year degree, 4-year degree, a doctorate, a residency, a robust resume. It's just like, yo, can you smile at people? Can you show up on time? Like, let's get started. And the reality is that business, because of its low barrier of entry and my ability, I think, to help people get aligned in a vision, and that I'm obsessed with how things make people feel. And food and beverage is something that actually alters human behavior radically, quickly. It's like emotional eating, non-emotional eating. There's, we have to do it because it's sacred duty. And so when you see that, you say like, well, hey, greater than 30% of every restaurant that opens closes within its first year. It's like, well, how many reps quit within their first week or their first month or their first, 2 months or 3 months or year? And I was asking you some of this, Seth, like, what is the trajectory, right, of from the door to what, right? And I don't believe that everyone that joins the restaurant business starts as a dishwasher or a host or a busser, and they're like, I'm going to be CEO. It just so happened that when I got my first shot and they handed me the reins to a restaurant as the general manager before I'd even served up 1 meal in my life, I knew that day, I accepted the role because I wanted to be CEO. I never accepted the role because I wanted to be a great GM. I was like, I know that becoming a great general manager is going to put me on the path to be the best. And I knew, and this is something here in my mind, it's like, I knew that by being handed those keys and someone showing me the way, that I believed that I could change the entire trajectory of my life, of my family's life, by outworking everyone else.
Man, the parallels in that.
There's a ton. So
A lot.
I mean, let's take that, because one place I want to go, and guys, help me remember to go here, is as Michael and I have talked about our business the last few years, right? Solar and really door to door in general has had these crazy ups and downs. But I want to go back kind of to the beginning. And one of the things that, I mean, we all know I sold drugs for a living, because you were there. Like, that was my life when I was younger. To me, when I talk about my career and how long have you been doing this, it's like, I knocked doors when I was standing on a corner. That was a version of knocking doors for me. And I know your story because we know each other intimately, but share with us all kind of where did you start in the industry you're in now? Where did the experience, because what you do is not restaurants, and we both know that. It's something entirely different. Yeah. Where did it start?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I got the first opportunity so I got invited in to be on the founding team of Costa Vida, which is now a $200+ million company. They've got 100+ locations. Their HQ is based there, like in Lehigh, Orem.
Camp's contributed over $50 million
Yeah, I
of
mean,
those
he-
dollars.
the,
by
the
himself,
sweet
by
pork,
the way.
bro, is
double
serving it
meat.
well.
I didn't get that free double meat like Seth.
Bro,
You could have afforded to pay for it. That's the
Seth
difference.
paid the ultimate price. But I when I got the opportunity to join that team, and when they hired me, it was kind of wild. At the time, like, I was competitive bowling. I was working on my PBA card. I had a bowling pro shop that I rented inside of Fat Cats, and that's all I knew. Like, I wanted to be a professional bowler. I was on the right journey for it. I bowled more than 34,000 games in my career. It's all I wanted, man. And I was obsessed. I was absolutely obsessed with it. And about 6 months into owning my own pro shop at Fat Cats in a little suburb in Salt Lake City, or a bowling alley in a little suburb of Salt Lake City, these guys approached me and said, like, dude, you have like too much talent for this. Like, what are you doing? And in my mind, I'm like, what? You're going to tell me I'm too talented for the only thing I've ever done since I was 11 years old? And in my mind, I'm like, fuck these guys. I'm gonna own the bowling alley now. Because that was before they called them like entertainment centers and bowling centers. I'm gonna own the bowling alley. And about an hour later, I agreed that I was gonna be the first general manager of the first ever Costa Vida. At the time, it was called Costa Azul, which happened to be at the entrance of BYU. And they're like, hey, we're gonna pay you $2,000 a month. And I lived in Murray at the time. And if anyone knows the distance between Murray and Provo, it's like 45 minutes on a good day. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to get $2,000 a year. I'm going to drive 45 minutes in each direction. I'm going to work 80 to 100 hours a week. And I'm not going to take a single day off for the next 7 years. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
That shit's gangster.
And I tell you, some of it is like, they never told me most of what I just told you. They never told me about the hour and a half to 2 hours I was going to commit in a long driveway every day. They didn't tell me that I was going to work 80 to 100 hours a week. They didn't tell me that I wasn't going to take a day off for the next 7 years. They also didn't tell me that, 20 years later, I would have founded or co-founded, 12 restaurant brands.
So, but isn't this the thing where, so two things here, right? One thing is, I can't say that being an entrepreneur is in the heart, but you have that thing. And the other thing is like realizing that the only way to get paid is not money. And actually the least way to get paid is not money. And we see this.
Just like you guys say, like, you got to do the reps. You got to do the work. You got to put it in. And that's what you're saying, like, from the start. So that's where the start came from. It was like, one of the partners was like, this dude should not do this ever. Like, and the other partner was like, I'm all in on you. Like, I see it in you. In fact, I'm speaking to his team tomorrow after the last burrito that I wrapped being paid by them and having a vested interest in the company was 2008. And I'm speaking to 40 of their top producers at their leadership summit tomorrow. And so there is this like moment where you just have to commit. And like, this is where maybe the parallel you're drawing is like, I went from being a professional athlete to literally overnight, I never competed at that sport again, and business became my sport. And so I was already obsessed with practice. I was already obsessed with outcome. Like, how more goal-oriented can you get than knock all 10 pins down on the first fucking roll?
Seth's never done that, by the way.
Right? And so that was to
Knock
me.
down human beings instead.
Yeah, I can articulate it now. But back then, I just was like, I don't know what I don't know. Like, just show me the right enough way, and I'm going to go all in. And I didn't start challenging like the architecture, the system, or like the mission of things until I got so good as an employee. And I tell people this, I'm like, if you ever want to own your own business, or you ever come to me for advice in owning your own business or starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur, the first question I ask is, have you ever owned someone else's business as their employee? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, have you ever owned someone else's business as an employee?
It's good.
And they're like, really no. I'm like, then you have no business getting in business for yourself. Because when you start to sign the front of the check, if you've never fully honored being able to sign the back of the check by taking full advantage of the architecture, the resources, the comp plans, the benefits, the fast learning, the R&D, the marketing, everything that, by the way, that Legacy One and Legacy provides in your guys' org, if you have not maximized that potential, you have no fucking business going in business for yourself. And so that's where it started, man. It started by getting a shot, and I knew nothing. The only thing I knew was like a fat kid's perspective. Like, I just like to eat food. And that gave me a different advantage because I came day one from the guest perspective, which is exactly what I love about this business, which is exactly why I want to be investing in what you guys are doing now, is because I actually fell in love with this business from you guys. From like seeing you as an organization, seeing you as a discipline, seeing you and how you invest in your people, being a part of your culture. I didn't come to you and say like, yeah, I threw parties for you and I held catering events for you and I pushed on those things with you. But the truth is while you guys were paying me to fall in love with you, we were courting each other.
Yeah.
And then last year at Legacy Legend, getting the chance to stand on stage and to be backstage with Doug, who I really think, and I mean this, I think Doug is one of, if not the top CEO in current state business. And in Utah, he's most definitely, like, in my opinion, top 2 or 3 CEO. And so when I see that from the top to the bottom to the sides, I was like, okay, like this is an organization that I want to fuck with because of how the abundant amount of good people that are in the org tell me everything I need to know about the leadership.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I wanted to pull one parallel out of there, and Seth, you could probably connect the dots here with Michael, but it was like Michael getting offered this $2,000, right? Not being told how many hours it was actually going to be, not being told about the distance between Murray and Orem.
I made like $2 an hour,
right?
Maybe.
Not knowing all of the nuances. That's exactly what we all signed up for 10, 15, 20 years ago, getting into the industry.
Yeah.
They don't tell us how many doors we're going to knock. They don't tell us that we're going to drive 2.5 hours to area each way. They don't tell us that we're going to extend every summer by 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks. We just showed up, right?
Like the product's gonna change every 2 months.
Yeah. Like, the pay changed every year. Like, we didn't actually know
like,
what we were getting
hold
into.
your check, don't cash it yet. Like,
That's
we have
it.
enough money in the bank. Like, fucking, you guys know this. 15,
We've
20
done it.
years ago, it was different.
100%.
Like, you had to pay a different price.
Yeah, it's just funny that you said you signed up to be the CEO when I think a lot of us signed up to just be that next leader, right? To be the next DM, the next regional, the next BA, the next Doug Robinson, whoever it was, is because we didn't know the nuances or the details of the job. Just like Mike said, it's just you have to lace up and show up, and you don't really know until you're going through it.
I think what hit me too is when you said, you know what, I was just talking to a guy about this morning. What we see in our industry is, listen, running a restaurant looks easy watching you do it, right?
Yeah, good ops always do.
But it's not. Knocking a door looks easy. Closing looks easy. Running an office, running a region, running a division, running a company. Like, well, what does Doug do? I don't know. He drives around and makes deals. It looks easy unless you understand business.
Yeah.
And what I see a lot in probably almost any industries, but indoors specifically, is guys watching somebody do something at a fairly high level that make it look easy, and then they think they can do it, and then they run off and they do it, and they've never done the steps. They've never. And what you said about is if you've never owned somebody else's business, I vibe with that, man, because it's like it means that you've gone in and done all the work that you thought somebody else should have been doing when that person was really just empowering you and giving you bandwidth and giving you reign as a leader.
They want you to think and act like an owner. They're empowering you
and
to.
instead of embracing that and like really learning the things, people have this, they want this quick, easy, fast thing. And the thing about like real, true, hard-won success is that it is hard-won. You've never skipped a step. You've gone through all the things you've done through. You've been every cornerstone of a restaurant or doors or whatever you do. You've done all of those things and run that business. And it's just a shout out because I see the people that I love and respect the most at any parallel in our industry, and they've never skipped a step. And that saying, like, that'll stick with me forever. If you haven't run somebody else's business, it's money.
Seth, you and I have talked about this a lot. When we were working on Maxims and Cam, we were working on Maxims for you guys, a year and a half ago. We were looking at like, what does the branding look like in these divisions? Like, what are our belief systems? And we're talking all in, we're talking always earned, we're talking, just industry of opportunity. And the truth is when it's earned, no one can ever take it from you, right? That's the beautiful gift, that when you actually go out and knock, you roll that burrito, you knock on that door, you invite, you create essence long before first bite or first deal. You have this ability to create value in front of people before they see it. And that's it. There's a gratification in that. There's a win in that. It's primal, right? You talk a lot about, like, if you've never been in the cage before, you've actually never like hand-to-hand combat with someone. I feel that same way about business. Like, if you actually have never actually had to pick yourself up off the ground, right? If you ever have to like set yourself into an ice bath afterwards, right? Or that opportunity at the time, if that was something that you did, and I did some years ago, but you popped the bottle of the champagne and you poured in, you got a little Cristal going into the glass. There's something like really beautiful and moving about the fact that like you just earned that, right? You earn it. And when you earn it, no one can get to take that from you.
So, and that leads me right to, there's a couple moments throughout our careers that I know we've all shared I want to talk about. But before I do that, there's a moment in every door knocker's career where, for me, I was about 8 months in or something. And sometimes it's years, sometimes it's faster than that. Yeah. But we all reach this point where it hits us, where we're usually out in Hood, wherever you're at, knocking doors. And it hits you like, I now have this skill set. I now have this ability. You can put me fucking anywhere. I don't care where you put me. I don't need a damn thing from anyone. I'm going to go create something. No matter where, the whole country. Yep. As long as they speak English, I will go in a neighborhood. I don't care if there's fences, security guards, cops, people yelling, guns, and I will create something out of nothing, and no one can take that from me. Yeah. I was with Keith, my cousin, who you know well, and worked with you back in the day, about a week ago out in Denver. And he was telling me, dude, we were talking about you, and he was telling me, like, dude, I used to just sit there at Costa Vida and just watch Michael go around the store and create magic out of people from nothing at all. Yeah. And I've been trying to figure out how I would quantify. I can quantify the door knocker's ability like I just did. Yeah. What is it for you that makes you so fucking different from everyone else that I know I've felt it, I know he's felt it, and I know he's felt it when we go into any of your restaurants. Even if you're not there, you've created a team where there's fucking magic that just pops up, and I'm like, I'm home. I feel good here. I want to be here. I want to eat here. I like it here. How do you do that? What is it?
Man, thank you, by the way. And I just started thinking about Keith, and I'm happy to hear he's doing well too. Yeah. It sounds like he's doing well and healthy. And I didn't even realize I was meeting people at such like a monumental time in their life. But when people are working for you when they're 16, 17, 18, call it 16 to like 22, those are like monumental years, right? I look at that as a father soon to have a 16-year-old in a few years and my daughters. And as you're sharing this with me, I realize the impact that we do have. And I have to just say it, man, it started very selfishly for me. I craved being seen as a kid. I just wanted someone to see me, to recognize me, to believe in me. Like, I was in resource, I was in speech therapy, I was a poor student. Like, my mom left when I was in 3rd grade. My dad was doing his best, but he was a struggling alcoholic. Like, my grandparents had a lot of other grandkids, right? They were professionals, but there were layers away. And it wasn't until I got into sports that I was like, holy shit, mentors, coaches believe in me and they see something in me. And so when you come into our restaurants, if you work on my teams, if you sit at my tables, our only responsibility is to show you that we're obsessed with you. And that to me was not our cheat code. It wasn't just our mission. It's just my belief system. Like, my inner child craved to be seen so bad that I realized that, man, can I use pancakes or a burrito or a hot honey pepperoni or a fried chicken sandwich or a pad thai or like whatever it might be. It's like when you walk into our restaurants, it's why they're beautifully designed. It's why they give you permission to take pictures. It's why you can stand with the hues of neon. It's because I want you to walk in and know that might be the only time in that day, but when you walk through our door, you're going to be seen. And if you walk through our door, our goal is to make sure that we leave people and places better than we ever found them. And if we can do that in something as like simple yet as complex as the restaurant business, or knocking on a door, or or investing in your cousin or your sisters or your family. I mean, so much of your family has worked for me. I think all of them, but you and like Hiram. I think, I think Hiram's never worked for me directly, but that's maybe just because he heard that I was like so relentless in it those young days. Like if you go work for Michael, you're gonna have to actually work. Yeah, man, like thank you for recognizing that. I don't think that I share that enough. I think from our mission, we share it, but selfishly, my spaces are for you. And I think they speak that to you. Like I build them for when Missy walks through the door with Lee, she's excited to be there.
Yeah, I've seen it, man. And I think you hit it right on the head, man. People always ask me, right? Like, why are you so obsessed with Sunday's Best? Why are you so obsessed with Oak? Me and my wife eat there once a week, right? Twice a week, or two or three times. Yeah. And I think
telling our coach about that.
I think one of the biggest differences, right, is it's like you didn't invent this magical pancake, right? You can only stretch a pancake ingredients so far, right?
Sure.
And the same thing with Legacy is people ask me like, what sets Legacy apart? What sets Sunday's Best or Oak or Pica Rica apart? And it's the intangible of the human like interaction, right? It's like when Michael McHenry makes you feel special, when a Doug Robinson or a Luke or someone, Seth or a Lee, makes you feel like they care more about the relationship than the pancake just happens to be really damn good too.
And they actually mean it.
That's it.
That's the thing. Like it's like you get this in space. I can tell by how you direct new team members that are
100%.
onboarding. You're like, no bullshit here. Like it's gonna be tough. Most aren't gonna make it. But like the truth is, like you want to establish them that when I speak to you, I speak my truth. I walk in my integrity. And so many brands try to just like paint, they like try to dress up a pig. They try to say all the right things. They try to put a wrap on the vehicle, right? They like slap a logo on it. If you heard me speak to your team today, I'm like, left chest. Like what crest is on your left chest? It's over your heart right now. And the reason for that is like, I don't think that, or I should say that the majority of business owners want you to buy into their mission before they bought into you. And that you want them to buy into your mission before you bought into them. And what's that like old saying, but it's like really rich. It's just basically like what is it like? Show me how much you care before like how much you do, or whatever the saying is. And I feel that's exactly where you are.
Yeah, 100%. I think the correlation just connects so much where we're in relationship businesses, right? Like life is about the relationship. And it just so happens that when you connect the relationship before the product, regardless of what you're selling, pancake, champagne, solar, alarm systems, whatever it may be, right? People can actually tell your intuition and if you actually mean it before they take that first bite.
Damn right.
I think like this is a good conversation, man. But I'm thinking back to something I heard. I want to say it was Damon Price. I can't remember who said it, but one of the things I learned in sales was sales cures all. Like don't go and try and decorate your office before you go and sell shit, right? Yeah. But on the other end of that is like, it's the old saying, like if you want to impress your customers, impress the people that impress your customers. And our customers, your first customer is your employee. Yeah. For you in the restaurant, because if you're not taking care of, if they don't feel love, if they don't feel care, if they don't feel like you have the best out for them, if they don't feel bought in on you and the mission and like becoming the best person they can be in the moment, they're not going to impress that upon their customer. And for us, it's the rep. And I see, for me, it's always been important to create a good environment for my people, and on a multiple level. Like first, physical environment. Like I want it to be inviting. I want it to be good. I want it to be upbeat. I want it to be professional. But then I want a good mental environment. I want a good emotional environment. I want like to inspire people to hit that whole person paradigm to like grow. And I think like when we're talking about, a lot of the markets, well, you too, right? Like go buy a burger somewhere. Everybody's got a burger, right? It's like, how do you differentiate? It's passion. It's passion on the door. It's passion. And that passion generally comes from the people or the owners of the upper leadership passing that down to the people. And then those people, Hermosi talks about it all the time. I know a lot of great restaurants in Vegas that look amazing, truly like honest game, that look amazing that I will never eat at again because the server was terrible, the food was terrible, the kitchen was terrible. And I just don't like, I like expensive food. I'll pay $500 for a dinner, but if I pay $500 for a dinner and it's a crappy experience with a really pretty restaurant, I'm never coming back. And on the front end, like our reps have to differentiate at the door. this is a good conversation.
Here's where you are with this too, Lee. By the way, there are a lot of fucking smart people in here. Like, by the way, thank you. I feel like I'm just surrounded with like a lot smarter humans today, and I love that. Like, I love
You're not,
richness
for the record.
of conversation. But
There's one high school education
yeah,
between the three of
bro,
us.
listen,
us.
I went
We'll split it up.
bro, but it's the life knowledge, right? Like I barely graduated from an alternative high school.
100%.
Like my first job was selling cigarettes, and I never smoked. Maybe I got it right. But what you're saying, Lee, and how this translates, and I think that we as business owners, as leaders, as managers, as executives, I think we forget that the very people that we hire, especially early, if you're building a division in Florida or Vegas or Texas, or I'm expanding to the airport, in Salt Lake City, or I'm going to stand up a place in Chicago. The truth is those early developments, those growths in those new markets, the individuals that we're onboarding are actually our cultural co-founders. I want you to think about that just for a moment. Like, they're our cultural co-founders. Like, they are a direct representation of our mission on the door, at the table, at the front door, on the phone, on social, right? Like, it's like every time I park in the parking lot at a restaurant, dude, even today, like, I still pick up trash. I look at everything. I look at the window frames. I adjust the rugs. I fix the plants. It's just something in my nature that allows me to never take it for granted, because I always want Julie and John and Samantha and all to like respect it and honor it the same way that I have. And so we have to be very mindful of that, because what happens, if that doesn't translate, charge as much money as you want. You can have the coolest fucking office in the world, dude, or you can be balling in your Ferrari, dude, because you're such an asshole, right? That no one likes you. Or it's like the guy that dies with leaving $39 million to his family that doesn't even remember who he is, and 6 people are at his funeral, right? It's like no one gives a shit about that. All people really care about is how you treat them. And in my business with such high turnover, and I know this for you too to be true, something that I'm super attracted to is that I know that culture drives results in these businesses. Like, I know the most sustained way to create results in any tough and competitive and low barrier of entry type business, that culture drives the sustained results, right? But you always go like brand, like legacy is really exciting. It's flashy. It's beautiful. You guys are the Rolexes, the cool clothes, the cool trips, the cool bonuses, the fat check Fridays, all that shit's fucking cool. Brand gets your attention. Culture keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
Brand gets your attention, right? Brand fills the room.
Yeah.
Culture keeps people around.
Man,
Love that.
That's a nugget.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to transition to another moment in every door knocker's career. And can I talk about yours for a
Yeah,
second?
please, yeah.
It was one of my favorites because he's an impressive human
Yeah,
being,
he
right?
fucking is,
Like,
for
look
sure,
at him.
yeah.
And
No way he's only an inch taller than me though, bro. That's fucked up. I'm like, I'm 6.
He carries it well.
All right, 2, bro. I'm 6'2".
Just get some,
almost 3.
just get some Air Force Ones, man.
there you go.
Reeboks only, baby.
So Lee was rookie of the year at Vivint. Killed it his first year. Phenomenal right away. I went through the same thing. His just makes me laugh more than mine. I know Cam did too, because we've talked about it. But there's this point in every door knocker's career, and oftentimes more than one point, where we've figured it out. We've kind of started to make it. We've started whatever it is, building into leadership, whatever our trajectory might be. And then we hit this wall filled with self-doubt where we're like, he would call me and he would be like, dude, I think I just got lucky on all those 200 accounts I sold last year, 250, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure I got lucky and I'm not that good at this job and I actually can't do it anymore. I think I suck now.
I did do that.
I figured it out. I suck now at this job. And I would just always laugh for a second and be like, homie, that's not how this works. We all went through that though.
Yeah,
Oftentimes it'd be
100%.
after a summer, you're coming back for the next summer to start. You're driving out and you're like, yeah, I got lucky 300 times last year, you know? And so what tell me about that moment. What do you do to overcome it? And how often do you hit that when you're starting something from nothing and you're using, as we've talked about, this skill set to just create raving fans, to create fans of the people while obviously having a fantastic product? What does that wall look like for you and how have you charged through it?
Yeah, I think to first make a comment about Lee, the truth is some of the best and biggest and top producers in any industry or any sport believe they're not good enough. So I think the first to just recognize is that the biggest producers always believe they can produce more, right? It's the greatest speakers always come off the stage and ask how they did, right? The best athletes in the world have multiple coaches. And my sister-in-law, she's brilliant. And she's had the incredible opportunity to coach some of the biggest and I think most like noteworthy CEOs in business nationally, globally. I think your pops can share some of that, right? Or share in some of that experience. But I remember asking her, I was on a hike with her, like, I don't know, this was like 8 years ago. And at the time, she was had the opportunity to coach the CEO at Nike. And I remember asking her, like almost like fanboying, like, oh my God, like what is it like coaching Mark Parker? Like, dude, like everybody know, if anyone's in business, like you read Shoot, like this is the company, right? We're talking Nike. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, isn't that gonna be hard? Like, I mean, I don't even know I could talk to the guy.
Yeah.
And she goes, Michael, you have to hear this. She goes, people like Mark only want to get better. They only want to get better. And so I think there's this side of like, well, there's this challenge. Like, I think top producers have doubt, right? Bobby Knight writes about this, right? I remember the old coach, Bobby Knight, one of the most winningest coaches in basketball, in college basketball. I think he still is. But he has this book that was written like in the 90s, and it's called the negatives. It's the positive side of negative thinking. I think we have to accept and give grace in the fact that like many of us don't believe we know what we're doing. And many of us don't give ourselves credit and significance for what we produce. And I think there's this beautiful taste of humility inside of that. And I also realize that does create some doubt. There is a special talent that can channel that sort of doubt and lack of significance and oftentimes even some humility that allows them to produce a big result and a sustained result. I think to answer the other side of your question, those that like just doubt themselves, that question themselves, that believe that they're not good enough, or they haven't done 300 deals yet, right? Or they get on the doors, or they show up to the restaurant and they're like, how the hell does he make $75 an hour and I'm making $22 an hour? Or how the hell is he doing 300 deals and I can't even set up 5 appointments? And what I believe to be true and what I see within myself and the thousands of people that I have led and trained in business is that we have to start to create an undeniable amount of proof that we are significant. It's what I love about being in great shape. That's what I love about, like, there's not a greater flex to me than you. If you're in your 40s and you're in great fucking shape, I'm like, you earned it. Like, bitch, good job. Because at 40, it's way different than 30 and it's way different than 20. And like there's a reality. And so like you have to create an undeniable amount of proof to yourself. And that proof turns into significance. And that significance turns into awareness. And that awareness turns into confidence. And that confidence turns into love. And when you fucking look in the mirror and you fucking love yourself, anything's fucking possible.
Let's go.
I'm like, bro, you guys put me on the fucking doors, dude. I promise you, like, you might say like, hey, fucking pancake boy, go back to Sandy. Or you might be like, oh my God, like, no, like you work till there's fucking blisters on your tongue and the roof of your mouth and your toes. Cause it's just like how it works, right? Like some of us just have this innate ability to fucking work. And then some of us have the ability to take that and teach other people how to do it. And I just like, I wasn't that smart. I just never gave up. And I think that's something for people that are listening in or those that are like getting out there for the first time. They're going to do something extremely hard. Like if you just don't fucking give up, you're going to give yourself proof. And the proof of that is ultimately going to lead to the most beautiful earned fucking self-confidence, and that self-confidence will carry you through every bit of your life. Just like you said, like, bro, drop me off with nothing and I have something and then I'll have way more, right? You earned that because at fucking 13, dude, you were not that confident. And at fucking 20, you weren't that confident. And the truth is, like, we just got to get out there and you got to look at it and not be afraid. Get your ass kicked a little bit. It's like getting jump's part of being tough. If you've actually never been jumped before, you're not that fucking tough. Business and life. Like, honestly, I'll tell people, like, bro, I've had my ass kicked before. You don't have what it takes. Like, get 2 of your friends. Like, let's level it up.
Yo, I love that.
Business is the same. If you think that like knocking on a fucking door or fucking rolling your first fucking burrito or like selling the house or fucking putting on the roof, dude, or like building the fucking brand deck or raising capital, like whatever it is, like if you have this idea that it's not gonna beat you down before it ever builds you up, you're fucking wrong. Like what Zuckerberg? Like what, a couple guys hit fucking massive home runs? Where's the thousands and thousands and thousands of guys that have worked their balls off that those conglomerates just buy because they don't want to contend or hear about it? Plenty of them, dude. Remember Instagram? That wasn't Meta. They're just like, oh, you built something really cool. Meta's just like, oh, we have more money than God. We'll just buy you.
Yeah.
Right?
I think like what I see too is a lot. I talked about this in core today. I think, people become unhappy in their life because they have this expectance for life to be easy or good, or it's supposed to be some kind of way. And it's just, I've never had an easy life, and it was a choice of which hard it was going to be. And at some point in my life, I veered off into, the heart of abundance and gratitude and love and, changing my family's life. And before that, it was the heart of, addiction and homelessness and prison and just everything negative.
Which, by the way, both are hard. Being full of love and abundance and acceptance and forgiveness, super fucking hard. And being fucking a gangbanger and living any gang life, I can only imagine, super fucking hard. And being fucking fat and lazy, super fucking hard. By the way, like having a considerable portfolio, right? I'm not gonna say like, I'm not the richest guy by any means. And I'm most definitely not the poorest guy, but I can tell you right now, like, I feel like in my own, relative to my own side, I've been rich or poor and they're both fucking hard. Because there's a price you got to pay to be rich. There's a price you fucking pay to be poor. And I think that goes back to what you're saying initially, Seth. It's like, how do you overcome sometimes that lack of belief, right? Or the things that are circumstantial. And I think when you're talking about core and you're talking about these things, and the most beautiful organizations have great training. That's another thing I love about Legacy. Like you fuckers just invest in your people, and it's so beautiful. And I can only imagine that bleeds from dug down, right? And side to side, from executives to reps to managers to division leaders to, executives, like all of those things, like you invest in your people. I think that we have a responsibility and a stewardship as owners, as leaders, to actually just make sure that we're making them uber aware of the current and future state, that we make you aware that you're going to have 1,000 micro failures like I shared today. Like you're gonna have 1,000 of these macro losses, but all you need is 10 macro wins, because the 10 macro wins will far outweigh these losses.
Yeah, 100%. It's good.
So I think what I'm hearing from you, and this brings me back to one of my favorite questions I've ever gotten at training. Last week I was out with, visiting teams in Northern California, and that's a market where the doors just get hammered, just like this one. The doors just get hammered. Every door answers, and you're the 50th person that's come today. And this rep asks me, I want you to role play like this specific thing that happened the other day. And so I'm role playing with them. Customer answers the door, and they're just rushed, right? Hey, I need to go. I'm in a hurry. What do you need? I've already talked to people about solar. I don't need this. And he's like, and what do you change? Like, how do you change your pitch in order to adapt to that customer? I had to think about it for a second. If I'm back on the door. And my answer was absolutely fucking nothing. I change absolutely nothing, because I'm here to do my job. You're having a busy day. I understand you're in a hurry. I understand you want me to leave. And if I start rushing what I have to do, if I start changing what I have to do to fit what you're trying to tell me you need me to do, it's just not going to work. And, I think that exact feeling is what I feel from you when I listen to those moments of self-doubt. You just keep going. You just keep doing exactly what you were already doing. Did I hear that right?
Hell yeah. Like when I'm working with the ops teams, I had this saying like years ago. We were in the deli business. We disrupted the deli business, kind of like what we've just recently done with barbecue and we've done with brunch, right? In these categories, because I see that there's opportunities, even when I feel like it's been overdone, but it might have been overdone, but just not the right way, right? And so like I had this thing with our ops team of like, listen, we have a build card, and if the build card means to make a shit sandwich every single time, make sure it's a shit sandwich and it tastes like shit every single time. don't like have it taste like roses one time and butterflies the next time and meatball sub the next time and then a shit sandwich one time. The point is, like, we built a framework that means we're going to serve a shit sandwich every single time, regardless if it tastes like shit. And the point is like, when you're on the door, like, you have a script, you have a focus, you have an expected outcome. And if you waver on your expected outcome, given the circumstances of the environment, you're off plan.
It's crazy because what I see, and it's interesting the further I go in my career. I did a podcast with Benning, and he gave me the Mountains After Mountains once a long time ago. And it's always stuck with me because he's like, first you're a shitty door knocker, then you're a shitty closer, then you're a shitty manager, then you're a shitty recruiter, then you're a shitty trainer, and then eventually you'll be a shitty regional manager, and then you'll be a shitty VP, and then, like Doug, when he started,
you'll be a shitty CEO.
Right, and then, Doug 10 years ago was a shitty CEO, and now he's amazing. And the thing was just going through the things and, like, staying buckled into the processes. Like, I love what you're saying. It's focusing on growing towards the thing on a constant basis. Like, it's money.
It's just, Seth, I heard this share just a moment ago. I heard you share it. Like, dude, there was just a deal. When guys were putting in 8 hours, I was putting in 12. When guys were putting in 10, I was putting in 16. When guys were putting in 14, I was putting in 20. Like, you just got to be unwavering, right? And that's like, I don't care, bro. Doug is a CEO, unwavering. Bro, it's easy for people to see, like, when he's at Lake Powell with the chef and his family and he's at he's at his son's football game. Like, no one else knows what's happening on his phone. No one else knows all the administrative tasks and realities that they're driving his mission and vision while he's, like, cheering his son on.
Sure.
In football. Like, the truth is, like, the higher you get, the better you must become in your indirect ability to create results through other people. That was a really hard thing for me. If I was on the doors, if I was the one, like, making the fucking sandwich, or I'm the one serving the food, or I'm the one greeting the guest, radically different than setting up a team of 30 to do it. Radically different than, like, I went through this process at one time. Like, I remember, dude, when I got my first, like, considerable promotion at Costa, and, like, at that time, like, being a member of the executive team, I remember, dude, that it was when I got the role to be over, like, 5 restaurants, 3 to 5 restaurants. I had to ask my boss how to hire people. and it was like, and you're like, what do you mean how to ask your boss how to hire people? And I was like, yeah, because when I was the GM, when I was the manager, people just wanted to work for me. So I never had a now hiring sign up. Just like, oh shit, if Kara had a great time working in my org, well, so did her 4 friends. And they just duplicated in their likeness. And just like shit, like, you get a shitty employee, they duplicate in their likeness. You get a great one, they duplicate in your likeness. So the truth is that my point here is, like, we don't realize that oftentimes you get to being a recruiter or a CEO or these other roles, like, you just do what you're used to. But what's beautiful about those that seem to grow and their trajectory and company seem to grow really well, like Elliot Hill that I shared with the team. Dude started at Nike as an intern and now he's the fucking CEO, and he's worked every layer all the way through the organization. That's the kind of guy you want.
So good.
Right? Like, that's the kind of guy you want. And so when you see that and you just realize that it's just a part of, like, it's just the universe. Like, we all get to a role. How many mornings do you guys wake up and, like, you don't really know what the fuck you're doing? Or how many times you wake up and go, like, did I fucking choose this? I fucking picked this. Right?
Yeah,
like,
we have those days. I look at Cam sometimes, like, do we really do this for a living? Is this really what we're doing right now?
Usually, like, Monday through Sunday.
Good hell.
Bro, you know what's wild to me? I'm not telling you everyone should have a plan B or a backup plan, because, by the way, like, I think there's a lot more sport and a lot more wins and a lot more disciplines. It's like, not everyone's going to go out and play the game like Steph Curry. Not everyone's going to go shape the ball like Tiger Woods. So I'm not saying this to the young people that haven't done it yet. So I'm like, I don't believe in backup plans. I don't believe in building resumes. I just believe in, like, producing results.
Yep.
But for me, for my reward center, for my mental health, because I'm just a builder, I just want to build all the fucking time. Like, I just want something. It's like, dude, it's the fucking same reason why I'm sitting here with you guys. Like, dude, how many guys in my business want to be opening a restaurant in the airport? It took me 5 years to get there. That's the closest you get to, like, fuck you opportunity in my business is that, right? It took me 5 years to get there. And here I am, like, going, like, I want to just, like, build something more. I want to drive more. It's just like, I'm just never really, like, comfortable. Doesn't mean I want to sabotage things. It just means I'm just never really comfortable in it. Like there's always something more that can be done, that can be produced, that can be created. But I have this backup plan in my mind. It's like, bro, if the McHenry Group fails, I'm 100% moving to the beach. I'm renting surfboards and making pina coladas, dude, and I'm gonna fucking homeschool my kids. That's it. Like, I'm like, bro, if it fails, my backup plan, dude, is fucking pina coladas and surfboards, homeschooling my kids. And I will be the happiest motherfucker on the planet, dude. If my fucking family's in a fucking Toyota fucking van, driving around, number fucking 3,000 square foot fucking cool toy garage full of cool ass shit. Like, I'm like, bro, fucking family van, cut off fucking jeans, loafers, probably smoking a cigar, chest hair, hopefully you still have a gold chain. And I'm fucking just renting surfboards and making pina coladas.
I kind of hope we all fell now that you've painted that picture.
Cool. The good news is when we just make a bunch of money and we exit, we're gonna do that anyway.
Same thing.
Like I didn't, it's like there's just something to that, you guys. I'm taking a bunch of space in this, but it's like, it's one thing to get clear on like you and where you're going, but there's this whole other thing that we don't talk enough about, that we don't train enough, that we don't put enough emphasis on. We're just like, what's your reward center? Like, what actually makes you happy?
Yeah.
Bro, I know enough of your history to know at times you're just like, I just want to be rich. I just want to be rich and I want people to love me.
Well, he wants to do good for other people.
Just think about
talk on this for a minute, because so it's this weird thing, right? You say that, and I think you would, but
you're saying I'm weird, bro.
The weird thing is that what we see, what
weird
we see is guys like, okay, there's a liquidity event. Let's say the restaurants are done, and they're like, here you go, $400 million, and I think you might start a surfboard chain. I do. I think you might move, but like there's something that's found for the people in this room and for a lot of the people listening that some people don't have, and I think people get so focused on the outcome and they stop when the outcome comes. But to me, I think I do at least get addicted to the self-development of the challenge. And when I receive the thing, I'm like, this isn't the thing I want. The thing I thought I wanted isn't the thing I wanted. What I really enjoyed was getting the thing I wanted, and then I want another thing. And it's been this weird thing in my life of being extraordinarily grateful and loving and happy that I have even the money. Listen, I've been able to change my daughter's life. She lives in a different zip code than I did. She has a different existence. She goes to a private school. She goes on amazing vacations. I'm allowed to spend money on time with her.
Sure.
And that's powerful, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's not enough, and it's like it's not the money, because I'm like, I like money. I want to be rich, like, because it also gives me impact. But
gives
like
you choices.
What do you that thing? Talk about like the drive for the. How easy is it just to do the restaurants? And you know what, the airport's hard, and it could take me 5 years. So but you don't choose that. You choose what's one of the hardest things I could do. Get a contract at one of the busiest airports. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Salt Lake City Airport. It's ridiculously big and busy, like insane. How do I
for its size per capita? It's like one of the busiest.
Bananas. And so you're like, how do I do the hardest thing I could do?
Utah has 3.2, almost 3.3 million people. 30 million people annually go through the airport, like walking distance.
And you choose that.
Yeah, you choose it.
So why?
So by the way, these are big, great, beautiful questions. And before I answer that, I want to draw a parallel with you. And bro, I don't think I've told you this since you may have been altered at the time I said this to you.
Can't confirm or deny that.
Can't confirm or deny.
I will confirm.
Why you were
have
for
pictures
sure.
of it.
Well, you were for sure altered, but I don't know if you remember this. But you were acting selfishly, which we do at times when we're altered. And one of the reasons that I was so mad at you, I get a little emotional talking about it, because you have a specific set of skills that selfishly have created a crazy amount of choices. You've made millions of dollars. You've risen above poor, often, and sometimes just circumstantial decisions and situations that you found yourself in. but you have a specific set of skills that also can provide access to changing thousands of people's lives. And about a year or so ago, when you were in this forum, I was pissed.
Yeah, I remember.
Because I love this business so much that I was like, you selfish fuck. Like, fine, sign off on your own. But like, you are a father, you are a man, you are a father, you are a business owner, you are a leader, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're a friend, you're a partner. And I want to sit in that just for a moment, because this is part of why I choose to keep building. Is because God gave me a shot, dude. And he provided me with this energy. Like, you guys have all probably had a bunch of caffeine and all kinds of other shit today. I don't need a fucking nap. My energy is not altered or changed since I saw you at 8 o'clock this morning. Like, God just gave me the energy. He gave me a full gas tank. And I abused it for so long. I took it for granted for so long. And so he asked me, like, why do I want to go grab more? Why am I flying down here for 8 hours when we're going to the most successful scale our business has ever been in, or like where we are? Because I feel like I have a responsibility and a stewardship to share what works. That I have a responsibility and a stewardship to help other people get there because I did. That if it was up to society, I shouldn't be sitting here. Like, bro, neither of my parents have ever even sniffed maybe like $40,000 to $60,000 a year their entire lives. Like, bro, you guys have made that in a week or more. Right. And so it really comes down to responsibility. To me, I'm driven in the future. I'm driven by scale because of the amount of reach and ability to take way more people with me. And so that was a little of a personal thing for me. I didn't anticipate that coming up, but it is true. Yeah. Like it is true. Like you guys have it. Seth is my brother. Like, I can lean into that. Like, I do it because I feel I'm responsible to, not because I have to.
Purpose. Well, it goes back to, you're just talking about like training on, we're missing the mark on training. Like, what are people's purpose? Like, what lights them up? What ignites them? What are their, like, reward centers? Because it's not just money, but it's like when I think about Seth or Cam or you or any of the people that are powerful in my life, it's because they're powerful in I have, mentors that Casey Baugh, I see once maybe every 2-3 years that I text, but he's so impactful, and he's people that draw me, and that reward center of being impact is massive. Like, you nailed it.
There's a responsibility too. Like, I think it's why you guys point towards the hardship so often. You point towards like losing it, whether that be from addiction, whether that be from whatever the association is, going to jail, being in prison, like whatever these stories are, you point towards that because you want people to see that it's possible. Like, what is more fucking daunting and scary and fucking, like, I want to say this in the most appropriate way, but like almost like defacing or devaluing than like fucking taking a shit on a fucking steel bull in front of everyone. And like standing behind bars and being like fed and fucking your identity's removed and you're given a number. To all of a sudden now you have this fucking opportunity to like make millions and millions of dollars and change thousands and thousands, if not even hundreds of thousands of people's lives. And what I have to remember under these times when I pick stuff that's really hard, when I say that I'm responsible to, is because I realize that in our business, think about it, dude, when you have, how many people are in your org right now?
In mine personally, about 100.
Okay, 100. And how many of them have kids? 40%, 20%? 30%?
Probably 40, at least 40%.
And 40% probably have close to 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right? So I just want you to think about this for a minute. If you have 100 team members, you're directly and indirectly touching about 500 lives. 500. So like, that's at 100. So the org as a whole, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So if you run that same ratio, it's about 3.5 to 1. Some people go like, oh, well, the influencer network of the average person is 10. The truth is, like, my network, your network, we're in the thousands, right? But the truth is like, we as individuals, like that quote unquote, like average person, it's about 3.5 times is what I believe. and I know this from the sociology and psychology of leading and managing teams and my own bullshit that I believe. And by the way, this fucking podcast is nothing but my own fucking opinions. You can fact check all you fucking want, but like these are my own opinions and I believe them, and they're fucking, a lot of them are tattooed on me, so they're fucking truth to me. And so if we realize that just this group right here, if we realize that we have a direct and indirect impact, how many in the org together? 2,000?
Legacy is about 2,000. We're 400 or 500 right now.
All right. So why don't we just say that 400, 500, 600, let's take so we're going to make this number 800. We right now, every decision that we make on average right now as an org together impacts directly and indirectly. It's a big fucking number because we're at 800 together, right? So that 800 is about 3,500 people a day. So just think about that. Like you like whether that motivates you or not, right? It's just truth. And I take it really personally enough that I like frustratingly called out my brother, like, you selfish fuck. Like, you have a skill set that can take thousands of people with you. Stop fucking ruining it.
It's crazy, man, because one of the things that I struggle with most in my career, no, he can take anything. He can take worse than that. Is one of the things I struggle worst in my career with the most is, even today, is I get resentments against people who have what it takes to do the thing but won't do it. And I actually think about their kids. Yeah. And I've had conversations with guys like, I don't care how many deals you sell right now. It's not going to affect me financially. The reason that I'm talking to you is not because I care about how many deals you're going to sell. It's because you and your kids and 3 other people live in an apartment and you're worried about how you're going to pay gas and you're not working as hard as you could to change. And I think like finding some of that why. I mean, I had that when I came into doors. I had $2,000 in the bank. I had full custody of my daughter, and Misty had just moved in, and I was terrified. And I just went to work. Like I remember thinking, what's not going to happen is what's not going to happen. What's not going to happen. What's not going to happen is there's not going to be a sign in front of my house dug into the dirt that says for sale because Lee can't pay his mortgage and he's got to move his daughter into an apartment. And I've fed off of that. And I see guys, it's like a call to action, like part of the purpose. And I have guys in my org now who could be so great beyond themselves to their families, to their children, to the children they haven't had yet, to the spouses, and to the people that they could teach. And instead, they're the example of the person who could do more but won't. And you said something about the people that influence negatively and influence positively. I got to go back and listen to this thing.
Yeah, I think you got to go back at like one. By the way, like I don't think Cam is actually this way as much, but I definitely think you two are. Where like you are very pessimistic, you question things. You're like, nah, I don't fucking like. You're like your organic ways. Like I don't assume good intent. There's like another fucking. There's just an agenda here.
There's a lion in the bushes. There's a lion in the bushes. Who's gonna eat me?
You were like, where Cam's like, bro, like until you choose me, like prove otherwise, good intent. You guys like, nah.
It's fun.
Show me first, dude. Right?
Yeah.
And so like there is this book that I think you guys should read. It's old, but it's called The Positive Side of Negative Thinking. And basically what it means is like you think negatively, but you act and execute positively. Right? And we do in this way. But I really think that I want to go back to this with you, Lee, because this is what you're saying. You're like, well, dude, why is it that I can see it, right? What do they say? Like you can lead a dog or you can lead a fucking horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Yeah. Same thing. That's why I tell you, like, you have to know the reward center and you got to get vested on it with your people. Because like not everyone's motivated by just earning choices. Like a lot of people are motivated by stability, health and wellness, comfort, whatever it might be. Like sometimes there's people out there like, dude, I know someone in your guys' space that I can't wait for him to be at Legacy with you guys. But it's like, he just dead set. He's like, I'm only working 220 days a year. And that doesn't include Saturdays and Sundays. Like I'm working 220 days a year and I'm taking every Saturday and Sunday off. And I expect to make $800,000 or more a year because I want to visit 15 countries a year, like whatever the number is. And like, by the way, I think those guys too, it's really important. You want to travel, you want to work. And I think we go like, well, those guys that only want to work 20 hours a week, but they make $1 million a year, they make $500,000 a year. And if these fuckers just realize if they worked 40 hours a week, they'd make $1 million. This is not true. We need to realize that that's not true. Oftentimes being in your reward center means you can give more and give less, right? Like if you're really clear on what that looks like, we're gonna be like, bro, like why do I have a whole organization full of guys that work 25 hours a week? Or why am I expecting everybody that works in my organization to work 40 hours a week? Fuck that. Like get clear on what their reward center is and are. And if it aligns with your mission and your vision and your architecture, pour gas on it. And if it doesn't, let those guys go somewhere else.
Well, and that's something we've had to learn. You know, I know for Lee and I, it's been tough. You know, because our stories
are workers.
Like legit. Well, it's legit rags to riches too, like what we've done, and it's been tough to learn. But something that I know I've learned over specifically just the last couple of years is when I look back on my career. Yeah, we talk about the 12 and 14-hour days, and what we don't talk about is every other aspect of my life that literally did not exist. Yeah. And so what I've become a lot more compassionate about is trying to push people to be the best version of themselves while also meeting them kind of where they're at. Like there's people who just are going to need more time because of where their family's life is at with their family than I had. They are, and I've had to learn to be cool with that, you know, and it's kind of been a balance I've watched Lee develop too, is we're pushers. It's in our nature to push people and demand the best out of them, and that is a good thing, as long as we also understand that, like, not everyone wants to sacrifice, not everyone wants to go knock on a broken foot for a week to win a competition and then require surgery that takes them out for 3 months like I did. Like, not everyone wants to do that, and they shouldn't have to. You were there for that.
I think
they shouldn't have to.
I think they shouldn't have to, and I think we shouldn't have this expectation that they should. And also just, like, realize that I think there was a culture and a time that was, like, at all costs. Bro, I drove divorce. I sabotaged every relationship. No one was close to me. Fuck, there was no way I could love anybody else. I didn't even know who I was. Right. And I was warned. That's why I think that oftentimes you find yourself in the industries like door to door and the restaurant business. There's a high substance abuse rate because it's fucking so demanding and it's so hard and we're just not clear. And I think when you do it in a healthy way, I also think it comes with like age and time and experience. Like, I think when you're 20, 25 years old, like you don't need to be overly responsible. You should just be out there earning. I don't think you should be getting married and having kids till your 30s. Like, I think that's true. Like, it doesn't make it works for everyone, but I'm just like, you're trying to have all these things at once. It's just not reasonable, right? Like you're going to have a counterbalance and go unwaveringly all in order to create anything that is like sustained. But I do think that like through moments like this, like podcasts, books, scenarios, masterminds, mentorship, like you actually can put yourself in a situation and you can do it healthier now. And in no way would I recommend like ripping it all down to nothing like we have in so many ways and build it all back up.
So let's shift gears into that. You touched on something there, being all in. We're talking about impacting other people. Let's talk about the future for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've done a good job. There's a plan here of kind of drawing the parables here between what we do and what you do. You know, something that we train on a lot. I actually think Doug Robinson created this originally, like way before we were even in door to door. Was like this 100 list. And in the 100 list, you write out, and at any given time, I've got 100 names in my phone of people. They're categorized into 3 lists. There's people that you for sure think that you can recruit and you can get them to come work soon, and you push on those people, and there's just kind of a revolving door. There's people that are like your connectors, and they're never going to do door to door, but they're going to connect you to people who are. And then there's your dream recruits, right? Yeah. You've been at the top of the list of my dream recruits. I've had this conversation with Cam, I don't know how many damn times, and even with Lee several times, of like, can you fucking imagine going out with Michael McHenry? First of all, it would just be so fun.
Well, we're still going to do that. We're going to do that whole like Christmas give back initiative.
Oh, we will.
We got to pull that off this year.
We will.
Like, yeah.
I did it last year, but it wasn't as fun without you.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the videos. Yeah.
His wasn't fun. Turned out.
Like,
here.
You're like, here.
Kind of trip people out. They were like, what?
Those things are so cool. Yeah. So looking at the future, you know, we're here and we're going to do something together. And I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Tell us what is it, and tell us why.
Yeah. Well, I think the first reason I think I shared a bit earlier, which is like, I'm just attracted to good people doing good shit. And, you know, I don't find comfort in success. I think I find motivation and in positive outcome and opportunity. And more importantly, like the more people that I can create access to, or the more people that I can bring along with me. And remember, I got to go back to like my inner child that just like wants to be seen, that wants to be loved, that wants to be successful, right? Like, you know, people go like, well, what is it with you and boating, right? And like, I just like, man, the reason I love boating so much and what I've learned over the years is like this really beautiful captive moment that for 2 hours or 7 hours, you can't go anywhere. You just have each other. But it started like being the kid in the car at the gas station, seeing another family and all the kids cheering and everyone going to the lake. And I was like, I want that, right? I want that for me. And I feel that similar way about solar, or really about door to door. But I say solar because it's what you guys are in, but I have to just say, like, selfishly, it's what I really like about door to door, is that I see that there is this architecture, this opportunity that you can get into. And as so long as you just work hard and you are teachable, you'll be wildly successful. There's very few industries, if any, that you can actually do that. The restaurant business is one. You heard me say this earlier today too, Seth, where I was just like, the restaurant business doesn't give a shit where you came from. It doesn't care what your resume is, what college you went to, what high school you grew up in, who your parents are, what family you're in, what ward you're a part of. It doesn't give two shits. You just show up and go to work. And door to door has literally been knocking on my freaking heart and my mind for like the last 2 or 3 years. And I had a really unique experience years ago. Like Todd Peterson came into Todd Peterson. Yeah. I don't want to call him Tom, but Todd Peterson came into a Costa Vida in Orem when you were a kid, and he literally like offered me a job. And at the time it wasn't Vivint. It was like something else. He's like, bro, he was like, bro, come work for me right now. Like, I don't care. Like, come work for me. And he was like, literally at the point, like, I wish I could have videoed this or like had it, 'cause it was this really cool moment. And I remember like not knowing who he was. And I remember vividly like turning down the opportunity, because I'm like, fuck that, dude. Sweet pork and tomatillo ranch for life. Like, I was all in. And what's interesting is I want this opportunity. The reason I want to be partnered with you guys is because I realize that the parallels are so present. And I have so many young people, so many young professionals that approach me about like, what do I do? What do I need to do? And not only is it the success in architecture, working in a great organization that I feel like can produce some pretty amazing results in economics, it's the skill set that you will gain through sales on the door that I want to teach people. And I want to open that up. I want to open up the opportunity to teach young people those skill sets that'll help you in bettering relationship and being a father, a husband, a wife, a partner, whatever it may be. And really something that's incredibly close to my reward center is like helping good dads duplicate in their likeness. And these are skill sets, negotiation and sales, that help you be a better parent. And so you asked me, like, that's kind of a short question with a big answer. Like, I'm really motivated to start changing a lot of people's lives by introducing them to the beautiful architecture that is legacy. Yeah.
I love that too. So let's talk about it. Where do we take this? What are we doing? And you know, what does the future look like? How do we get this? You know, we understand the why, we understand how, I think. Where are we going?
This is where ignorance is a little bliss, right? Like, bro, I've never knocked on a door with this intent. I'm excited too, because it's exciting to me. And the only reason I need to do it is because I want to. And there's something really beautiful about wanting an outcome. You want to be a great musician, you practice your balls off, doesn't mean that you're going to be fucking Aerosmith, right? You want to be a great golfer. You want to be a great business leader. You want to be a great restaurateur. You want to be a great father. You want to be a great husband. You want to be a great partner. Like you want to get sober, like whatever those things are. Like I'm really clear about grabbing things and attacking them with like unwavering pursuit. And I have a variety of ways that I feel like we get a recruit in this business that is different than what's happening now, which is providing these young professionals with a curriculum and opportunity that builds them from the inside out. That we get to take the approach at starting at their reward center, pointing them towards the architecture, providing them with the teaching and the coaching and the leading necessary in order to create, sustained and positive outcomes. I already have a vested interest in wanting to help kind of the youth and young professionals with that. Now we have a toolbox to be able to provide them with the career path that can accomplish both. And I don't think anybody else in the industry is doing it the way that I think we're capable of doing it with our mixed relevance. I actually really think that if there's any smart people listening to this podcast, they're probably going to want to take these ideas at some point and be like, they want to go to work. Difference is like, we can give them the recipe, but you don't have the method, bro. You're never going to bake the cake. Yeah, it's that when do you add the water? When do you add the ice? What temperature? Like when do you pull it out? When do you turn it around? That's the stuff that we know. We can give you all the ingredients all day long, but the cake that we're about to bake is one that I think the industry has never seen. I think it's something that the Casey Baws and the mentors and the Todds and these guys and the Dougs are going to look at and be like, oh my God, that was like, you guys had a breakthrough. And you guys identified that late in 2024. And we've been doing this for the last 25 years. And you're like, yeah, because listen, dude, everything is advancing. Not every rock has been turned. We already know that. Right? Think about it. Bro, you were just telling me about the cars, like the gas part electric, 800 horsepower. Like, bro, there was a time, dude, just like go watch Ford versus Ferrari. Mm-hmm. Like they thought those were the most advanced cars on the planet Earth, and they were. And that Ford, some American brand, had no business being in the whatever it is, the Formula or whatever what the hell was that race called?
Formula One?
Formula One, right? And all of a sudden Ford's winning that thing in the 70s or 60s or whatever it is. Like, truth is, like, I think we're about to disrupt the recruiting and placement in the door-to-door business because we're bringing a radically successful outside perspective, and timing makes a difference too.
Couldn't agree more.
I love it.
Love that. Tell me like a little bit about the paradigms of like what you do currently in your professional work, right? You run restaurants, you build people, you build humans, you build teams, you build SOPs, you do it all, right? How do you think that correlates into what we do and what we're trying to do? And how do you think that will cohesively mesh in our industry?
Well, I might piss off some of the traditionalists right now, right? But the truth is this, man. There's no real fucking difference between selling tacos and selling solar.
Yeah.
Like zero. Like there's really no difference between selling diamond rings or cars and solar and pancakes. Yep. And so the truth is, like, when you lead people and you create results through leading people well, I don't care what vertical you're in. It's all the same. So you're like, well, where does that like shift in the paradigm and where's the reality? To me, it's the exact same approach. Like, we're going to pour into people. We're going to make our greatest investment in people first. And we're going to achieve like wildly successful and sustained outcomes by tooling the right people with the right tools to be wildly successful. And we're going to love them along the way. And I feel like this kind of turn and burn of these like low barrier of entry businesses, like the turn and burn stuff, this high urgency cultures, these turn and burn cultures, like how much of your industry is going to think that the stuff that we're talking about is nonsense, that we're drinking snake juice or that we're Moonies, dude. And the next thing you know, it works. They're like, oh my God, that was genius. But right now they're like, there ain't no way we're going to do that. There's no way we're going to care about people that much. Like we're not going to provide you with the tools and resources to be wildly successful. Then we can't have you back on the doors next summer broke. We need you broke every summer. That's not true anymore. Yeah. Right? Those old mentalities, like there's just no difference, man. We're going We're gonna
love
take a
that.
very similar approach that, like, how we onboard servers, man, how we onboard setters, how we onboard closers. Like, I don't know what I don't know. And maybe I seem a little bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but man, I've been beat up and I've been broke enough to know that it takes a lot when you build a specific set of skills around building people, and those people build your business, instead of having a specific set of skills about building a business that builds people. That's what's so attractive. I think there's so much of that, you guys. And I mean this like in the most beautiful way. Like, I don't even think you guys realize how good you are yet.
It's not the first time Seth snuck in a window.
Can you tell? He's good at it, bro. Like,
I agree with what you're saying. I think like, I agree with it 100%. I think that like, as I've developed as a leader, you know, I've tried, you don't know what you don't know. And as you know, it's interesting from my paradigm with the leaders that I have now, and in each of the different offices, they're all going through different lessons in life on how to develop as a person. In, you know, some of my offices, I have people who are just running the business like a business and functionally, but also creating really, really good experiences for the human beings that are there, educating them. And they're like, yeah, they're tough, but it's good. And I have other leaders who are like, just getting past running a business like it's a friendship business and getting into, and it's interesting from my paradigm, you know, the thing that I can control, well, the few things that I can control is who I've developed into as a leader over the years. Yeah. And making sure that my ego has stayed out of it. And I think that, you know, by keeping my ego out of it, or keeping our egos out of it, and really looking at like serving the people that we're with to the best of our ability, and that means trying to become better all the time, but having really gone through functionally the things. And then when they're in the things, it's so amazing. It's still, to me, at this point in my career, like, it's like, you know, it used to be like just teaching a setter. I'm like, oh, I've been through all these setter things. Yeah. Or a closer, I've been through all these closer things. And now watching my leaders, you know, make these.
You've also been through all the ego things.
Ego things, yeah.
Right, and that's something too that I think, it's sort of like you kind of begin to approach a new opportunity where like your relevance and experiences get to like kind of speak and connect for themselves, right? I used to say this, in fact, I say it recently, and I do a lot of work in the men's like development space, right? I'm in a men's group. There's 50 men. A bunch of them are hitters. Like, we do a lot of work, and I realized that when I joined this group like 2.5 years ago, or even 3, I realized that I was very much in my ego in some topics, and more than I would like to admit. But I think we find ourselves ultimately, when we stand in our ego, is that when ego shows up, it's really just nothing more than a magnifier, or putting a magnifier on our insecurities.
100%.
And the more that we can approach things with like clarity and understanding, good learning, best practices, partnership, like truth, like we can walk these things in our truest and most aligning integrity, then I think it allows us to remove as much of our ego as possible and be able to really stand into this earned confidence that I think is this beautiful place to be when you are training and aligning, onboarding, recruiting. Is like, the quicker that we can help people, including ourselves, stand in confidence in knowing what success looks like, internal, external, like knowing what like health and well-being looks like internally and externally. And I think that is something too, like, I think you make that reference in there too, Lee, that you're like, geez, man, when I was a setter, it was this. When I was an executive, when it was this. There's new challenges and new opportunities. But really what that means is like, we lack some confidence in what we don't know. And as we realize that we're identifying new layers or new levels as individuals, like, we have some insecurities or doubts associated with those learnings, or the lack of information that we believe that we need in order to be successful at that expected outcome, or what we believe to be the expected outcome. We have to do that same thing at every layer. That like, our goal is to remove as much of that anxiety, as much of that insecurity, as much of that like ego. Or you saw today, there's a few guys in here that are like in their ego because they want to prove to you that you made the right decision. But you're like, listen, dude, like, you got 6 more hours of training. You're going to go out like, really, today doesn't even matter to me. How you show up or what you're saying or what you're looking doesn't even matter to me today. What matters to me is on Monday when I look at your results. And then it's like, oh, good. You showed me enough. Now I'm actually even going to pay attention to your energy. Right? But today they're just like, look at me, coach. Like, put me in the game. Like, I'm the shit. Like, even though I'm standing here and like,
go knock a door first.
Yeah. Like, and
that's
kind of where I'm like, dude, I don't know how many people are sitting down like believing that they're qualified to recruit for a fucking business. They've never knocked a single fucking door before. But the reason that I have all the confidence in the world about like helping further this is because I already can see and I already experience what's on the other side of buying into the company, of like actually respecting and honoring the architecture. And I want to point people to it because I realize what it can do for them.
Well, and I think that's where our advantage, like our strength comes from, is that, you know, what you can provide from the years of experience and the resume that you have built is entirely different than what we can provide. We can provide that. We've knocked the doors. We have that. And I think where we get really dangerous is in a space where, for the most part, we're all door knockers. When there's someone sitting there that's never done the job and they're trying to run and build an organization by themselves, I think they are fucking insane. I don't know how you'd ever work for someone.
Yeah, totally.
But the level of mentorship and stewardship and growth that you've achieved from doing a job that is so different and so hard, and yet also so similar and so hard, creates like this experience that we can build together, where what I see our people being able to learn from all of us together is wildly different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's like, using a sport analogy, not to dumb it down, just because I think it's very easy to relate to, but it's like, bro, you don't see linemen throw the ball very often, but a right tackle gives the quarterback as much time as he can fend off, to give him as much time in the pocket to throw the best pass possible. The truth is, like, I think through time and success and maturity and our own growth, and I don't think this would have worked if it was 5 years ago or 15 years ago, or like we're too into like it's about us. But when you get to a certain level, when it really truly is about other people, when the truth is, like, Lee can go out and just be successful without having to run a fucking team of 100, and Seth, like, you don't have to be a VP of the company, and you don't have to own a division. That if you're just on the doors and committed to that, and that was just going to provide you with a good life, you make $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and you're living a great life. It's like how I feel too. Like, if I didn't take Sunday's best, for instance, to scale, what actually keeps me up at night is tomorrow, not today. Today's fucking really beautiful, and so was yesterday. It's tomorrow that I'm like, oh my God, right? It's like tomorrow's like where the stress lies, right? And so, like, if you just think about that for a moment, like, it also takes real self-confidence to be able to join something like, bro, I realize, like, I don't want to be the quarterback. I've never thrown the fucking ball. But the truth is, like, I just want to make sure that you have as much time as a left tackle, right tackle as possible, throw the best, best possibilities, the best possible outcomes so that we can win and ultimately get to the Super Bowl. And I think that's the role. Like, you just know your fucking lane and you honor it, and you have confidence in that role, right? Like, at the end of the day, for me, if I'm making pancakes, we're fucked. If I'm stretching your pizza, you're never coming back to eat it. Right? Like, the truth is, like, bro, if I'm stuck having to manage and respond through emails and administrative tasks and responsibilities, like, my company's dead already. If I'm have to go out there and build spreadsheets today, we're over.
Right? So we have to wrap up soon because we're at about time, but I want to ask this question. So I love these parallels, man, because one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is not adding bandwidth and not delegating. And, like, I just want you to, because what you just said, if I'm stuck knocking a door, right now at this point in my career, knocking a door is the least productive thing I could be doing almost on the planet. Yep. Closing a deal, sitting inside of a home right now, not that I don't respect it, value it, appreciate it, have done it thousands of times, but at this point, like, I have people for that. Like, I see people get stuck and buried in control and fear and a lack of delegation and a lack of bandwidth and a lack of, like, one of the things I had two guys that were interviewing each other to join a team, and I said, what you need to do is sit down and write the few things that you're excellent at. and just write down on the other side the things that you're terrible at. And make sure that when you're interviewing that person as a partner in this industry, that they're really good at the things you're terrible at.
Yep.
Because if they're not, that whole side of your business will be terrible and it will never get delegated and you'll not have bandwidth. So just before and Seth, you can wrap us up after this question, but just on that, speak about bandwidth and delegation and not being the guy doing the hiring those things out, finding people, like talk about that level of scale.
You know, it's wild because we pointed at this a handful of times today, but I think the reason that people are unability to duplicate in their likeness or to delegate is because it's fear-based and it's insecure-based. Like the ones that I have felt, the people that I have found that struggle the most with delegation, the ones that struggle the most with like hiring for the future of their business, that struggle the most in actually like offsetting tasks or critical tasks, or realizing like that their time would be spent best somewhere else, but they can't because they just suffocate it. You know, they hold it so close to the chest. It's rooted in insecurity and it's rooted in fear. And you know, what I always say to somebody or what I have found and what I try to advise under these conditions is like, especially for executives, I'm like, if you don't have an assistant yet, you need one. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, no, I can handle that. I can't justify, paying that or paying that amount. I'm like, no, it's less about the investment that you're going to make, and it's more about what you're going to learn. When you hire an assistant, you're obligated to give stuff. You're obligated to keep him or her busy. You have a responsibility to do so. And I love what happens. And if you can find an executive that can't do well with an assistant, they'll never do well in indirect control at scale, like ever. And so what you're pointing towards, and maybe the answer to that question is, there's a different set of skills that it takes to go from direct control to indirect control. And the majority of people can't go from direct control to indirect control. It's just true. It's like in our business, it's like they always go like, oh, you're a great bartender, you can be a great GM, or you're a great server, you should be a manager. And the truth is, like, you're a great server, and all of a sudden we just pulled you off of the table, and now you're writing schedules and managing people. And in reality, you're just really good at knocking doors and setting up appointments. And why the hell do we have to make you a manager? Let's have a path for you on being the best setter on the planet Earth. Let's have a path for you to be the best fucking server on the planet. And so like there's Ken Blanchard, he's written a bunch of like early leader. He's like the 1 minute manager guy. And he's written a bunch of books, but he has content out there about like going from direct control to indirect control. And that's why I actually asked you earlier, Seth, I'm like, what is like the expectation or trajectory of someone that knocks on doors? And the truth is, if it's like to turn everybody into a manager, our system's broken. Because not everyone who knocks on the door is supposed to be a manager. It's a different skill set. Like I can tell you right now, give me 50 reps and put me in a market, bro, and we will produce the most fucking glowing results ever. And I didn't knock on a door once. Like I just know it. I promise. Because I'll be wildly clear on what your North Star is, and I'm going to pursue it with unwavering effort. And so like, think about that. And I think that's what we're going to do together is realize that like, we're going to look at talent and we're going to identify talent and we're going to make quarterbacks, and we're going to make receivers. We're going to make linemen. We're going to make coaches. And we're going to make brand teams. We're going to have the promotions company that fucking fill the bleachers so that people can be out here running the game. And I think because when you grow in it, you're like, no, you're like, no way you can manage unless you go knock 1,000 doors and show me you can do 300 deals. It's like, bro, how about I just show you 30 people that can do 400 deals? That's my job. That's your job. Like, I make this up. But it's like, do you want someone that's like got to go through the ranks and knock every single door to get a certain level? Or do you want to identify the qualities in someone and teach them how to be a great manager and go and achieve the sustained results and expectations for the company? That's what great executives do.
So, I mean, that's it. Like, as I think back on the early stages of getting to know Legacy and Doug, and he tells the story of Legacy, right? It's like it started out Sunrun exclusive. All they did is sell Sunrun. Where we are now is so different. He had no idea what that was going to become. He just knew how to put the right players in the right places. And so that's what I see here. When it comes to the simple mechanics of the job, knocking the door, go find me someone that can compete with me as humbly as possible. I'll let my ego go there. Let's go toes. Like, But when it comes to the mechanics and the structure of creating people who can create beautiful things in organizations and creating scale with culture, like we've talked about, find me someone that can go toes. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know we're going to fucking do something. And that's why we're here.
What I think, like what I hear from you guys, even in this conversation, like I don't know all the goals. I just know that our goal is to like do cool shit together. But like even in this one meeting where it's like, we're literally doing this publicly. We're recording this, like we're sharing this with people. Like, here's the fucking playbook. You know, by the way, I'm realizing it's like, dude, like, is our goal to put 1,000 new people in this funnel over and over and over? And, or is it to like drive greater results through what we currently have, drive higher retention, drive greater outcomes, create bigger producers, like take someone that's from 50 deals or 25 deals or 100 deals to 200 deals and build an entire org where it's like, we're building these events. Like I told you guys, like, I can't wait till the time that we host and throw the most ridiculous party and concert and reality for every person in there. We fill a fucking auditorium full of people that made over $1 million in the summer each, right? Like, as I'm hearing you guys and feeling these vibes, I'm like, how much of the conversation is like, how do we get an entire division to 200 deals a month or 200 deals a summer? The number is arbitrary to me because I don't really know. Yeah. But it's like, versus like how many are going into our pipeline all the time. Like, I think there's this side that I think there's as much opportunity in retention and performance as there is in recruiting. 100%. And I feel like there's actually bigger results over here than even in the recruiting side, because the recruiting, what you're trying to do is recruit these guys to get to this level, and you got to pay a lot of money for them. Like, let's invest in the ones we have right here and drive those results while we're building this pipeline and this new ability to drive and train and invest and find these new ways in our culture to like create these bigger, better, stronger, faster outcomes. And then we're gonna fucking find a Lee and a Cam and a Seth from time to like, we're gonna fish these guys, and all of a sudden like, oh my God. Now we have like, sometimes the whales just show up. You give them a reason, like you can't fish them, but sometimes they show up because they want to feed.
I love that.
And when they fucking do, you just got to give them a reason. And dude, I'm telling you, this part for me, like what's so attractive to me about what you guys do is this part. It's not this part. It's this part that's so attractive to me that I'm like, there's so much of the recipe there with some slight changes to the method, to the heat, to the curating of the dough. We're about to bake the fucking most ridiculous fucking pizza for you, like low carb fucking,
sounds
you know,
so
but
good
like,
right now.
but bake the most ridiculous pizza to just be carb loaded as fuck.
Can we have a cookie too?
And I think that's why it is a no-brainer for us in the room to want to link arms with you, is because you understand the value of creating value for as many humans as humanly possible. And you've done such an amazing job at it. That's why you've had so much success in everything that you've opened up, brothers, because you put the TLC, you put the love, time, and energy into making everybody feel special. And that's what this side of the business needs.
Yeah, and it's just, I think there's just a different perspective in that. And listen, dude, I don't know what I don't know. But what I do know, and I believe I'm a fucking expert in, is people. Like, I'm a fucking expert in like the psychology of what moves people through leadership. I'm an expert in what I believe is gaining alignment through larger workforces in alignment with what your expected outcomes and your mission and vision is, and getting people to tattoo it on them. And like, we can get that to the masses, bro. It's like, part of these probably shouldn't get shared to the public yet. Maybe all of it should, you know?
We've been streaming live for.
I'm just like, no wonder there's all these fucking people asking us like, is McHenry leaving the restaurant business? Yeah. We're doing both, baby. We're doing both.
Michael, man, thank you for coming on. Seth, thank you for coming down. Cam, thank you for coming down. I appreciate
us, man.
If I'm honest, I know what to expect from you. I didn't know what to expect from this conversation. There's been podcasts that I've done where I'm just like, man, like Ty Williams, I've listened to that podcast 15 times.
He's good.
This is another one where I'm just like, there was so many parallels, and like, I listen to stuff like this and I partake in it, and my brain is going at a certain speed while it's happening, and at a different speed when I'm in the car as a listener. And I mean, I love these conversations because they're so insightful and they're so enlightening, and there's so many different ways to think about things that I don't think of and that open my paradigm. So just like an immense amount of gratitude for you, like fly down. I understand how busy you are, and drop all of this on all of us. And, you know, the listeners, we have a wide variety of listeners, and I know they'll just get a ton of, you know, value out of, I mean, there were so many nuggets, dude. I was sitting here trying to conversate on some of the nuggets, but I'm like, there was like 15. I'm like, which one? Like, it was dope, man. So thank you guys. Yeah.
And
Thanks for
you
putting that
guys,
together,
you guys
brother.
created
That's
this
good.
space, man. Thanks for letting me take up so much air, man. I mean, you guys set it up. I just feel like you guys were like lobbing softballs, bro. And it was just like,
Homer.
it's easy when it's what you love in a space that you're in. It just, things happen, man. So whether they're isms or clips or little maxims or their plans, that's why we do these things. Like, bro, this wasn't around 20 years ago. There weren't podcasts, dude. When you guys got into door to door, there weren't podcasts.
No.
People didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant back then. Like Gary Vee got everybody on board with that. And if they don't say he did, like they're all lying, because everyone else just called them business owners. Like it would, like the word like entrepreneur, and we all know we can't even spell it right now. We got to use like predictive text for that bullshit. But it's like we didn't have access to these kinds of tools. And now like those behind us and those with us now have them. Yeah, this is dope.
It's gonna be
You
fun.
guys gonna take us
I'm
out?
excited to listen to this too.
It's gonna be fun.
I don't even know how to close after that, Michael. It's been amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. You know, you are, I think, the first person we've had that comes from outside the industry, and I feel just as confident that you're going to disrupt it as I feel in where I know Doug Robinson is taking Legacy Power.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
I'll back
That's a
it. I'm
compliment.
behind
Thank
it,
you.
and I'm with you, brother. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, I'm in.
Thanks,
All right, bro.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
fellas.
guys. That was dope, guys. Good job.